Good morning. Today is Friday, January 5th, 2024. I'm going to get that wrong yet. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to practice Wudang Qigong. We have the second set that we're going to work on this morning, Pushing the Mountain. I introduced it in the previous recording. I had skipped a day and then I re-recorded it. So that's available. We're going to talk about and work on Pushing the Mountain today. I'm going to read just a little tiny bit from Professor Liu's book so that we have something to focus on. And then we're going to pay attention to two things. The first thing is the body alignment and how we use the physical body in the movement. So I'm going to repeat a little bit, but I'm going to add a little bit more to what I said. The second thing we're going to pay much more attention to is the internal work, what we're doing inside, and that internal circulation that is part qi and part physical breath, so that our muscles are working as best as they can to do what we're asking them to do. Let's get started. That also gives me a chance to check the stream over here. Feet about shoulder width apart, basic stretch. Sink into your legs, bend the knees, turn the hips, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the shoulders, pull up through the crown of the head, hands circle to the front, and back around to both sides. Up along center line, stretch out. Roll up, and again. One more time. Fingertips reach up. Elbows drop down. Wrists. Hands return to your sides. Alright. Pushing the mountain. Feet about shoulder width apart. Breathe in. I'll start in a minute. I'm just going to cover this briefly. Alright. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push. Pull back in. Press down. If I step wider, okay, if I step into a horse stance, I talked about this last time, I'm going to review it because I need to. Alright, so horse stance, I'm going to turn my feet 1, heels 2, feet 3, heels 4, toes set. That's my horse. My feet, my horse. Okay, knees go out over the toes, they cannot sink in. They must go out. This stance, right, depending on how far my toes are turned, right? I can turn them a little bit more, I can turn them a little bit less, is a standard horse. Okay? Good. Mabu. Mabu. Horse stance. Every martial artist that I've ever met that knew what they were doing knows a horse stance. Everybody does it. It's one of the things that, yes, I am standing here, yes. It's one of the things that we do to strengthen the legs and develop the skills that we have to hold through the legs so that I can now do something else. Right? I can use that. I can use that for pushing the mountain. I can. In my practice, in what I've learned and the methods that I've paid attention to, this stance, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Hands down along both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Now, that last bit. Raise the heels and lower. If I'm in a full-on horse stance, I can do it. I can do it. It is possible. We pay attention to that in our Qigong set 18. Raise the heels. So I'm here. Now, paying homage to the peaks. Set 18. I'm here. Sink. Raise the heels. Seriously, raise the heels. Set back. That effort is subtle, and it gives us something that we don't have without that. So, set 2. We want the ability at the end of the set to be able to raise the heels just a little bit. We use that every time I teach, right? Breathe in, breathe out, hands down along both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. It's a lot harder to do here. It is. Raise the heels. Stay there. Just pick up the heels. Don't move anything else, right? It's harder to, it really is harder to stay there. If I come up and straighten the legs, I can still raise my heels, but it doesn't feel the same. I don't get the same circulation as if I'm here. And that internal circulation, that send the chi around the circle, is part of what I've developed in my practice. And it is something that I found incredibly valuable in how I've developed my own internal workmanship. Nagel. Nagel. That development has a foundation. It's not just, oh, well, I decided, right? It has a foundation in the traditional practice. As we move through each of the sets, we pay attention to that posture and the body alignment, the hands, the feet, the knees, the hips, the legs, how we are positioned. In part determines where that energy comes from and where it can go. Right? Just have to pay attention to it. As we look at the main points and functions, all right, I'm going to pay attention to the second part here because I focused on the physical movements. So the timing of breathing out and the movement of lowering the body must be together, the speed slow and well distributed. When the Laogong acupuncture points face out, send out the breath and push with the palms. The appearance is the same as if pushing a piece of wood on the water or very much like the appearance of pushing a ball in the water. The whole body is covered by a type of outer breath and feels enveloped by it. Lead, mix, and sink the breath, slightly restraining it. In my translation, when I talk about the breath, most of the time, then I have to take a look at what I did in the new translation, the updates. But most of the time, I use breath as the translation of qi, this internal breath, because in the context, that is what makes the most sense. In practice, we need to distinguish what is the physical breath, hu shi, hu shi, hu shi. Breathe out, breathe in. That physical breath, this is my lungs working, this is me adding sound to what I'm doing with the breath so that you can hear it. You can't see it. You could, if you were in a room with me, you could feel it, but you can't see it. So that physical breath connects with the internal breath. In this exercise, Professor Liu says focus on the Laogong. As you push out, send out the breath. Okay? Now, the paragraph above that is a bit more technical, where he's talking about the elements and the connection within the body. So that's why I didn't read that this morning. It is. That technical explanation is one of the things that I've addressed, or part of that technical explanation is one of the things that I have addressed as we pay attention to the internal connections. So as he's talking about sinking the breath to the lower Tantian, paying attention to the 5 elements, paying attention to the inner circulation through the small heavenly circle and the lower Tantian, restraining the qi, circulating the qi, keeping it, not sending all of it out, restraining it just a little so that there's some still there, because we want to build that. It's part of the development process that we want to develop our ability to have more qi, right? It's Qigong, right? So as we're practicing, just breathe in, breathe out, physical breath, circulating through the small heavenly circle, connecting the Laogong and the lower Tantian as I push out, pushing down through the heels, pulling up through the crown of the head, pulling up through the Huiyin, connecting the body, pulling in through the sides so that everything moves in good time. There's not, I'll show you. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in. No. Breathe in. Shi. Ho. Shi. Ho. is full and complete. Each time through the entire breath, stopping with the breath and working through the physical breath to extend the chi. Pushing the mountain. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Pull up through the back and down through the front. Focus on, as you sink, focus on the Renma. As you raise up, focus on the Duma. Breathe in, pull up the back. Breathe out, down the front. Breathe in. Open the toes. Keep the Yungchuan open. Pay attention to the connection between the Lao Wong and the lower Dantian. 2 more. Breathe in. Last time. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hands down on both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Being able to practice well requires some level of explanation, some level of direction, and some discussion of what it is we're actually doing. Then we have to try and do it. Today's practice, I paid a lot of attention to this concept of body placement and how we develop the circulation, excuse me, how we develop the circulation through the whole body. This idea that, yeah, I can work here, it's fine, I could, still can. I don't. This is good, right? Toes are turned out just a little bit, not a lot. So we don't want ballet second. We don't. Modern, almost modern first, but just a little bit to the outside. So as we sink, we can keep going. I'm leaning now, all right? At the point where I start leaning, I need to do something else, and that is support through the abs here. Pull this across, keep the hip well supported, so that as the hip moves, I go with it. Still a little bit, but not nearly as much. You see my hands go out at balance point? That is something that we want to develop. We want to know about that. It's not particular to Wudang Qigong, it's particular to movement arts. The movement arts, how we move, what we do, the way in which we do it, is foundation for all of the martial arts. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. How you do a movement matters. The way in which I move for the internal arts, for Tai Chi, is not the same as the way that I move for Xingyi. It's not. It's not the same the way I move for Bagua either. That difference is the art, and each art has its own particulars, right? So how we use the physical body, this is what I got, how do I use it? What can I do with it? That is foundation for every movement art. Anything that you're going to do with movement, any sport that you're going to play, it's foundation. What can I do with what I've got? That is fundamental for Wudang Qigong as well. As we're practicing, if I'm overexerting, right? Let's say I'm a beginner, just getting started. I don't have 20 years of Shaolin practice. I don't have 5-10 years of dance training. I'm just getting started. If my instruction says horse stance, 2, 3, 4, 5, open and sit, you won't be able to do it. And the most important aspect, the inner workmanship, will have to be set aside, because you have to pay a whole lot more attention to what you're doing in that exercise to hold that position and work with that position. There are times when we want to pay more attention to the physical effort. There are. If you don't ever do it, you won't ever develop the skill. Not particularly this exercise. We still do it, but not particularly this exercise. We could. In my practice, I don't. Being sufficient, so that's too little, that's still too little, unless I'm going to stay really high. Right here, this is fine. I can even go out to here and still be okay, so a little bit wider than my own shoulders, right? Here, I can, but it's not going to give me the same focus on that circulation as if I'm here. So I get 1 and 2 and 3. And if I'm here, that circulation still happens, right? I still have shoulders and knees are still aligned. I'm still working through the whole body. I still have that circulation, but it's here, not here. That difference mattered to me in my own practice, so that's part of the way that I teach. I want to cover both, because one of the, how do I say it? The point of this class is to bring all of what I have on Wudang Qigong and this particular set together. So, if I've left something out, if I have mentioned it but I need to say it again, if I haven't mentioned it and I need to bring it out, that's what this particular series is for. Here we are. That understanding is something that I really don't want to get lost. And I've seen so many times where it does get lost. Lost in translation, right? Instead of thinking about, so I'm here, This is just a little bit wider than shoulder width. So breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. Pull up. This is keeping the back straight. It's fairly easy. I did it not a extension, not a strenuous movement. I wasn't trying to put my knees at parallel to the floor. And I can feel the difference, which I'm going to do again. I can feel the difference in the subtle circulation through the whole body compared with no, I'm going to stay here. A little bit wider than shoulder width. All right. Horse stance. Each of those is correct. Each of those carries a slightly different emphasis, a slightly different focus, and asks us to pay attention to some slightly different things. Here, my full circulation is through the legs, up through the shoulders, and back down. A little bit wider, right? That circulation point widens. And I have to use a bit more effort as I sink to make sure that I keep my back straight, to make sure that I'm not doing some odd thing with my head, which I'm doing right now. And that I did that on purpose, I did. And that as I settle, I keep my weight just behind the heel so that I can keep going down. Here, horse stance, right? As I sink, I have to make sure that I keep my legs open. This has to push open. And that I stay well supported through the torso, right? So pull up, keep the shoulders up as you go down so that everything opens and the hip and the knees are on the same line. You can't lean forward. It's very much legs and holding through the upper body. Push out. Lao bone connects. And my point in each of these sets, the one with less effort, one with a little bit more effort, and the one with a lot more effort, is that we can use this exercise, we can use Wudang Qigong in many different ways. It's not just this one thing. If we pay attention to that, we can start to look at and ask questions for ourselves. What else is there? What can I learn from this that might not be in the book? if I'm paying attention to my own breath, I'm paying attention to my own chi, paying attention to my own physical body, and I'm paying attention to my intent, all of the things that go on internally. It's my practice. What am I doing? What am I doing with it? What do I want to do with it? What could I do with it? What is already contained in the exercise? So I don't have to reinvent it. I just have to find it. It's already there. I just have to look for it. I just have to be able to see it. Each of these three kinds of practice gives us another aspect to the exercise. That development. There's more than three, right? But that development is something that comes over time. So you go to one workshop and you learn the set, and you know what this set is because you learned it from that one workshop. You did. I did. I went to workshops. I learned stuff. I couldn't develop what I learned because the foundation for development wasn't there as a workshop. I didn't do anything over time. I didn't come to understand what I was doing, how I was doing. I didn't have time to work on any of that because, well, it was just a workshop. What we develop over time is what comes from our own practice. Not from a workshop, not from going to class, what you practice. We can choose the manner, the method, how we want to develop our practice. For me, traditional, comprehensive, as thorough as I can get, and with as full an understanding of the exercise and its context as I can get to. I'm still working on that. I appreciate everyone that's been watching today. We covered exercise 2, pushing the mountain. I will be back next week with probably, I'm not decided yet. It may be, we may be doing pushing the mountain again. It could be that we move on. I'm going to look at a couple of things. We'll see. I'll be back next week anyway. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.